he said, well, overheard your conversation. He's talking to so it took you ear hustling to realize that you can say something to me. Say, yeah, but you always walk around like you so cocky and you bet. No, what you want me to do? Curve my shoulders down and put my head down. Hell, I'm a proud Black man. I walk with my head up high and my chest out. So, if that offends you or makes you feel lesser, then that's on you. That's not on me.
Welcome to 365 Brothers, the podcast. I'm your host, Robin Shine. I am delighted to bring to you brothers from across the United States and from various professions talking about their life experiences, their wisdom, and a conversation that also touches on racial profiling in the United States, how pervasive it is, what the impact is. And remember, you can follow us on Instagram at 365 Brothers. Also, follow us on Facebook at 365 Brothers, the podcast. If this is your first time listening to a 365 Brothers episode, make sure you subscribe because you do not want to miss one brother's wisdom, one brother's experience, and their perspective on life in the United States. Today, we are speaking with a gentleman who's originally from Vernon, Alabama, currently resides in Marina del Rey here in the LA area of California. He works as a production assistant where he gets to watch tennis. He gets paid to watch something he enjoys watching. And he's also a working actor. Now, he'll tell you he's not a working actor, but let me just say he'll be in episodes that are coming out in the series Shameless, Lucifer, and was recently in a movie entitled Archenemy. We are speaking today with Chris Guyton. Welcome, Chris.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. We're delighted to have you here. So before I go into the questions, is there anything you'd like to share with the listeners to help them get to know you better?
No. Let's see what happens. Let's see what we unveil, when we go through these questions. Nothing in particular.
Well, what is a favorite song or movie, either now or all time?
I don't think I have any one particular song that I would just say stands out. It depends a lot of times on my mood as far as what I'm listening to. It might be my favorite for that day. I am a big OJ's fan. I like the OJs. I like a lot of the old school R&B. So, if I'm listening to country one day, it might be a particular song on my country playlist that I think is my favorite song. And, then it might be one of the hip hop or gangster rap songs. I don't know. It just, the mood hits me, but I will, sit back and have a glass of wine with some OJs or something,
And of the OJ's hits and songs, which one is the one that you would most likely put on repeat?
Ooh, You've Got Your Hooks in Me, followed by Family Reunion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe even some Cry Together. I kind of like that one too,
Oh, yeah. I remember very early on. It was season 1, and I don't remember which episode, somewhere around 12 or 15. He and his wife had been married decades, 40-something years. And when he told me that was their favorite song, it said everything I needed to know.
I heard that.
Together, right?
I think mine comes from, growing up listening to all of the old stuff. I remember my mom and I actually went to the Universal Amphitheater when it used to be the amphitheater for the father and son tour with Levert and the OJs. And it was her birthday. So we actually went together and we were standing up, dancing, having a good time listening to the OJs. So, they good for me and my mom, I should say.
Yeah. All right. I love that. Who did you go see in your first concert? I'm just curious.
Ooh, wow. Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center, I think it was. It was, I think LL was Young. It was
Ooh.
Public Enemy,
Oh,
Houdini, and LL, I
dang
think,
it.
was the opening for them. And I think not Houdini, but Public Enemy closed the show. So that was my first
Dang.
concert. I might have been like 14 or 15 years old. My mom allowed me to drive to Birmingham to go to the concert.
Are you serious? You got to drive when you were 14 or 15 to a concert?
Yeah.
Dang, guys, man, y'all have it good.
Hey, it could have been someone in there older than me that was, saying I'll look out for him. So yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. That is amazing. And I have to say, I'm just a little bit jealous. I mean, you naming some of my favorites, LL and Houdini. I mean, I there are some popular Public Enemy songs that I love. Don't nobody hate on me, but I've not been a huge fan, mostly just because it wasn't something that I listened to. But Houdini and LL Cool J, people don't even know. LL Cool J has the greatest hits, and you'll be surprised. You love it all. Just saying.
Absolutely.
Um, let's talk about favorite childhood memories. What's a favorite childhood memory?
The one that gets me, I don't know if it was a family reunion or just happened to be some type of get together one summer that I remember. It was like family members that haven't or didn't know, I should say, because I could have been around 10 or 11 maybe. And it was like my grandmother's brothers, my great uncles some of them I had never met, cousins that I probably had never met. And it was just a big family gathering, at my grandmother's. And that's one of the favorites that I have, because there was so much laughter, music
Mhm.
playing, everybody having a good time, grown folks conversations that you had to stay out of, go and play with the other kids, but you want to sit up under the shade tree and listen to the old men talk about, days gone by, but you couldn't do that. But it was still good running around in the yard.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That sounds great. Did you guys continue to have get-togethers ongoingly so that
Uh,
you did get to see these people?
we would have family members that would come in from different parts of the country, during the summertime to visit, but never like that. I think we didn't have another family reunion for years. Like I say, I wouldn't even call it a family reunion. It just happened that way. But we actually had an official family reunion years later in
Mm,
Birmingham, to where people come. I got relatives in Chicago, Detroit, Delaware, Tampa, Miami. Oh man, Tennessee. I got them all over the place. Georgia. So it depends on
wow.
who decides they want to come home, but uh, or who would want to come home. But that was during the time that the matriarch of the family, my grandmother, was still alive. That people seemed to gather around her or come to her house, where that would be the stopping and visiting point. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother passed away in 2012, and I did not appreciate, even though she, well, actually, so when I was in the 70s, most of my maternal family joined the nation, and
Hmm.
then there was a split, and then most of my family became Christian. My grandmother and one uncle remained devoted to the nation.
Ooh,
And at some
okay.
point, there would be arguments. Every Christmas, you just could count on it. Christmas and Thanksgiving. At the end of the meal, it was like just part of the agenda. And so,
That's funny because it's part of the agenda now since we moved to California, because my mom is out here as well. And that's the same way it is at Christmas and holiday times now, to where we have dinner at my mom and dad's house, and then it turns into a shouting match on who's going to be louder than the other person, arguing about whatever we arguing about, but it's all in love.
it's all in love.
Yeah.
It's all in love, and it's like, and it's so funny that you get that, because like when I say it was on the agenda, I mean it was after the dinner. Somebody would play, and this is back in the video days, or CD. Somebody would play something, and then they just want to share with everybody. Knowing there's half the side that don't want to hear it. Then there'd be the discussion, which is a heated debate. And then there would be dessert afterwards. Somebody go, oh, see, y'all just don't know what you're talking about. Who wants some sweet potato pie?
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Right. And so anyway, I say that because so at a certain point, there was an argument from which my grandmother refused to recover. And so she just stopped coming to Christmas and Thanksgiving the last few years. And but the thing is we still all got together and then we would go take her a plate. So really, she still had it. She just had it on her terms.
Right.
But after she died, it was never quite the same. And I don't think I appreciated the role of a matriarch until years after.
I can understand that.
Yeah. Yes, I hear you when you say that. Although it sounds like, is your mom's house the new one?
My mom's house is the new matriarch house for the West Coast. I would say yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's talk about accomplishments. I asked this question in two parts. First, an accomplishment that means the most to you personally, and then an accomplishment that is the one that gets the or wow from others. So let's start with the first. Which of your accomplishments is the one that means the most to you personally, Chris?
The first one would be being the first one in my family to go to college and to graduate. And I say that on my mom's side because I know I have a couple of female cousins that attended college before I did, was a couple of years older. But I don't think either one of them finished school. So I'm really happy about that. So, get the degree, give it to my mom. This is for you. Now let me go do what I want to do. I'm proud of it.
Right there.
I'm proud of it. It holds a special place in my heart, to know that I went to college and that I completed something that I started first and foremost. But I think it did my family good to have me to go. We definitely knew of other people from around that had loved ones to go. So it was time for somebody in our family to do it. So, yeah.
Got it. And so do I hear then a working class background and this was just a point of honor for the family?
I would say yes. My mom always talk about you hear me reference my mom, I guess, a lot. I'm a product of strong Black women. So my favorite person in the world was my grandmother, and then my mom and my two aunts, her twin sister and Sarah, and my aunt Willa Dean. Life wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. You know what I'm saying? It was just, it was men around, don't get me wrong, but the women controlled everything. If the women said move, you moved. If they didn't say anything, you stood or sat right there. But yeah, they all worked from the point of being teenagers until they retired, basically.
Yeah.
And my grandmother, she reminds me, I tell people, she reminds me of Viola Davis in The Help, because that's what she did. She took care of people's homes and people's kids. Yeah.
Got it. Each generation, wants something more for the next. And I know that was realized for them.
Yes.
What about the accomplishment that is the one that, when shared, is most likely to get the or wow?
That I'm an actor, Yeah.
So how'd you end up doing that, by the way?
A lifelong dream, sitting back watching Gilligan's Island, the Brady Bunch, Little Rascals, thinking, hey, I could do that. Didn't know how I was going to be able to do that. So it's been in me that long. And then once my mom moved to California, right after I graduated from college, I moved out here, started working in aerospace. And one of the young dudes I was hanging around with at the time, he asked me to go to a party in Inglewood, and I met a young lady there who was doing extras casting. And I started doing background work whenever she would call, and the bug bit me, and I knew it's what I want to do, and I've been chasing that dream ever since.
Nice. Did you also do training and all that, or you just kind of
not until I decided to start taking it seriously. I started taking class with Chip Fields. I think it used to be Harvest Repertory in the early 90s. Kim Fields.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that for a bit of time. I guess it's a never ending process of learning and training. And I studied with Diana Castle at the Imagine Life, she's awesome for my acting career. She's awesome for life in general, from the way she approaches teaching this craft. So that would be about it, you know.
Cool. Let's talk about words. What's a favorite quote, saying, metaphor, or book, and why?
Mm. Your blessings are in your journey. I like that one.
Say more about it. Why does it resonate with you?
I had to learn to appreciate the small successes, I guess you would say, in life. I don't think we take enough time to appreciate the small stuff. And I think it was a young kid, teenager, who taught me not so long ago, actually, when we were playing golf and he was graduating high school and going to hopefully play golf in college. And he was talking about becoming a professional golfer at some point, and be an example for other young Black kids. And my thought process clicked then. It was like, wait a minute, you know, you're successful already. You know, you're playing golf. You're getting ready to take a journey to some higher learning, and the golf has provided that. These are small successes that you may or may not be paying attention to. So these small successes add up to my blessings. I can honestly say I don't think, when I look back in my life, that any and everything that I've ever wanted, I've gotten. It didn't come when I wanted it, mind you, but I've gotten it, you know.
Yeah.
I can honestly say that it didn't happen in the fashion that it would want to happen. You know, I actually wanted to play basketball in college, but I didn't get a basketball scholarship. I got a football scholarship, but I got to go to college. You know, I
Right.
didn't have to join the military or something like that another Black man or woman would have to do to try and leave a small town or to even better their lives. So, you know, I appreciate the small accomplishments, you know, be it a co-star role on some TV show or a guest star role. I appreciate it because, you know what, I get to live my dream. A lot of people don't do that. I don't do it as often as I would like, but eventually will come. I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just sage advice, good wisdom right there. I happen to be in this course, and it's basically a course of inquiry. So it's not so much about them teaching you anything. You just have a means of having a constant conversation about something you're inquiring into. And this year, which concludes in May, has been registering accomplishment. And one of the things I've noticed in this year of inquiry is that when we live from acknowledging and registering the accomplishment and not just what didn't happen, it's amazing that you start to see more actions you could take to bring your dreams into focus.
Right.
It just shifts, you know? So yeah, I love that. I love those words.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about that? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I guess that's it. Books. The Alchemist. I found that by Paulo Coelho. I found that to be a good read. You know, we are here on this journey of life looking for something when we really just need to be, you know, looking within ourselves. That was a good one. And then my son, he introduced me to a book called The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz,
Oh
which I
yeah.
found to be very, very good. So I like that one, you know. And then I just finished reading The Purpose of Power by Alicia Garza, one of the co-founders of the Black Lives Matters movement. And that was very good. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Awesome. Well, I love that you mentioned several books. I just announced back on March 31st that 365 Brothers in season 3, which starts July 5th, each month we're going to have a book, you know, depending on who the author is. My hope is to, if I can, as much as possible, spotlight books written by other brothers. For the listeners, just know that's coming up in July and more details to come in at the end of May. Let's talk about experiences. Is there a person, moment, conversation, or event that stands out either as changing the trajectory of your life or it had a significant impact on your life?
Absolutely.
Yeah, do tell.
Yeah, that would be junior high school, small town where I come from. Most of the workforce would get off around 3:30. School gets out around 3, and you be at football practice. And the parents where I come from, they come and watch practice
Mm,
and to see what's going on, the men and the women. And
mhm.
my stepdad was out watching practice one day, and I made a half-ass attempt to tackle this running back. He was a little bit bigger than me. Well, at that time, he was a lot bigger than me as far as I was concerned. So
Mhm.
I just made a half-ass attempt to do it. And after practice was over, he had a conversation with me about either I was going to go out and play football the way I was supposed to be playing football or should play football, or I was going to come home after school and do chores. Um, so that wasn't cool because most of the neighborhood would be playing football. They would be at football practice. So I had to make up my mind, either I'm going to do this or I'm going to have to go home. So for that reason, I got over or overcame my fear of tackling, and it benefited me in helping me to later get a football scholarship.
Mm.
So that conversation changed the way I looked at the game of football and played the game of football, and it benefited me and it helped me get to the University of Alabama A&M in Huntsville, Alabama, or normal like.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Wow. And I'm going to guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to imagine that that has played a role in how you show up in all kinds of areas of life.
absolutely. Absolutely. It allowed me to look at things and be like, okay, if I apply myself the way I should, then I can accomplish whatever it is I'm out there trying to do. But if I'm going to half-ass it, it ain't going to work.
I do love how I love how he was like, you're going to put yourself in it. I mean, and he knew just what to say because I'm sure what he actually wanted was for you to continue to play football. But he was like, let's see, what proposition can I give him?
Right, yeah, this is true. This is true. I'm one of the few guys that, played sports that would be at home. So nah, that
Mhm.
that that wasn't gonna happen.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Um, what's the moment or event that highlights or in some way signifies your experience as a Black man in the United States?
What do you mean by that? I thought about that. What do you mean per se by that? I have an answer, but I just want to know what you mean.
You have an answer, but you just want me to do some work.
I was
Yeah,
about.
no, that's all good. So, yeah, what I mean by that question is, um, well, you know what? Okay, here's what's interesting. See, it's easy for me to ask the questions. I've never considered, like, what if someone asked me, what's a moment or event that highlights or signifies your experience as a Black woman in the United States, right? One that comes immediately to mind for me was when I had just graduated from college. I was staying at the dorms. I finished my last quarter at Stanford over the summer. I was packing up my room and loading it into my 88 Toyota Tercel. I brought everything down by myself and was so proud of it, except my stereo. One, exciting purchase that I made for myself when I was in college was this huge stereo system, double cassette, the whole thing.
Mhm.
And so I needed some help bringing it down. And so I asked these two white guys, because that's all that was around at the time. I just asked two guys that seemed to, not be rushing somewhere to help me bring them down. And so on the one hand, as a woman, it was like realizing that I needed the help. But then once they loaded into the car, one of them turned to me and said, "You didn't steal this, did you?" And
It was just like, seriously, you know what? Like, I was so grateful that you helped me and all that, but you just had to go there. And I think what made it so irritating was because as much as it was said as a joke, I could tell there was a little bit of, I hope we did the right thing here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, seriously. And so that is a moment for me that it kind of puts a spotlight on being both Black and female.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I had an answer for you, and then with your explanation, it made me think about something else. So I'll give you my answer. My
Mm-hmm.
answer is the fact that I tell both my sons, I was not naturally gifted with athleticism. So growing up playing Pop Warner football, I was an offensive tackle and guard. Got to junior high, became a tight end, and I was, jealous of my friends scoring touchdowns. I wanted to score a touchdown too. So I was grateful that one of the junior high football coaches allowed me to compete for the position of quarterback, which I did win the position of quarterback for our ninth grade team. And we went undefeated that year. But when it came a time for me to transition to high school football, we got a new head coach that year. And even though I was the first Black quarterback as far as JV goes, he brought in another kid from a neighboring town to play quarterback in front of me, a white guy, and he had me compete under the impression that if I had good practices and good games, because I never started a game at quarterback in high school, but I played a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, he led me to believe that if I did the things he asked me to do, that I would eventually start. And it never happened. And I think that's a direct result of him being uh, not necessarily caring for me or people that look like me. Maybe I'll put it that way. Even though the football team was probably the whole starting offense and defense were Black guys, but that's what you needed to win.
Mm-hmm.
One of my cousins, who's like a brother, he passed about 5-6 years ago now. And when I went home for the service, the assistant football coach was there, and he came up to me and he actually apologized for the way I had been treated so many years ago. And that meant the world to me. And then I saw the man that I do not like. I used to say hate, but hate is a strong word. So I took that
Yeah.
out
Okay.
of saying it. But he extended his hand and I just looked at him and he said, "What, you not gonna shake my hand?" And if I wouldn't have been at the service, honestly, I would not have. But
Uh-huh.
being that I was at the service for my cousin, who's like a brother, we grew up together. I didn't want to cause any problems, and I wasn't going to
Right.
allow this person to do that to me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then I go over into saying this: we share similarities as Black men and women in this country, yes, but I'm a 6'3", 250-pound Black man. Before I get ready to leave my home each and every day, I have to think about, consciously or unconsciously, how I'm going to react to anyone that is non-Black. And I say anyone because the threat of me being violent has been put into anyone's mind as non-Black, and they will perceive me to be that way without even getting to know me or saying a word to me.
Mm-hmm.
So the place for me, I can't speak for all Black men and women, and I will not try to, but the place for me that I feel the safest is at home. Because when I go out in the streets, I don't know what to expect. If you say something negative to me, I can't respond negatively to you. I have to think about what I'm going to say back to you. I don't think anyone else has to deal with that. Maybe Black women have to deal with it. I'm not going to say they don't, because we share a similar walk inside these boundaries of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I look at my situation as a Black man in the United States, I'm pretty much damned if I do, damned if I don't. keep my head down, do what I'm supposed to do, and ain't nobody gonna bother you, so to speak. But that doesn't always ring true. So yes, that's both my answers.
I've shared before with listeners, I had the privilege of being invited to speak with some brothers who are living in the UK, and they have, similar experiences. And I don't know if it was because they were outside the United States or just my listening was different that day, but I think that day was the first time I truly understood, to the extent that I can, that it's as if being male and Black, and especially, as you pointed out, tall or, considered large enough to be quote unquote harmful.
Mm-hmm.
The perception, it's as if when they see you, you are automatically walking around with, with a loaded gun ready to go. Not because they actually envision the gun per se, but that this idea of seeing Black men as threat is just so painted on. And it just really stood out for me after hearing some of the things they shared.
Robin, I remember talking to this young man when I was working in aerospace, and he said, "Hey, Chris, man, I didn't know you were so cool." I say, "Well, man, that's because you never talked to me." I say, "How do you know I'm cool now?" He said, "Well, overheard your conversation. You was talking to so it took you ear hustling to realize that you can say something to me." Say, "Yeah, but you always walk around like you so cocky and you bet." No, what you want me to do? Curve my shoulders down and put my head down? Hell, I'm a proud Black man. I walk with my head up high and my chest out. So, if that offends you or makes you feel lesser, then that's on you. That's not on me. But I'm not going to kowtow, and I refuse to kowtow these days to the situations that you continue to try and put me and people that look like me under. I'm going to wear my badge of honor, which is my Black skin, proudly out in public. I do my best not to offend anybody or be disrespectful, but at the same time, I'm not going to allow you to make me feel bad because I was born and blessed into this world as a Black man. Get on with that.
Exactly. There's a
Yeah.
phrase, since you used the word ass earlier, because if there's cursing, I have to label it, strong language or whatever. So, but since you did, I know I'm 3 years late on this, because I remember hearing it in the soundtrack for Black Panther. But I was recently talking about it with a friend, and I just got to say, I am newly in love with the phrase, "Miss me with that bullshit." Newly in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Have you had any interactions with law enforcement? And if so, what and when? You didn't even let me finish.
I think it was 1988. It was outside of Birmingham. I didn't play football at Alabama A&M like I thought I was going to get to. I broke my femur. So I was going to the sports medicine hospital in Birmingham. My girlfriend and I at the time was riding on I-65, and taking our time to get there. We had left campus early enough so we wouldn't have to speed or do anything like that. And on 65, a police car went by us with the lights going on. Woo, 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 woo. They was rolling. So obviously they was responding to something. And I was in Gardendale, I think, at the time, right before getting into Gardendale, because I think he stopped me in Gardendale. And so he went past way down the interstate and didn't see the lights of him. But once we got closer into Gardendale, he had pulled over, and then when I went by, he jumped behind me, and I had a white Mustang.
Okay.
And he pulled me over. So she's like, "What you do?" I was like, "I don't know. I wasn't speeding or anything." So, I'm thinking like I'll pull over and find out what's going on. So he comes up, he gets out of the car, he has his gun pulled out, and, he's like, basically, "Show me your hands, get out of the car." Now she started crying. And I'm
Okay,
like,
so
"Oh
hold
my
on.
God."
Just so I'm making sure.
Yeah.
I know you said it, but so as he approaches, his gun is out and
His
in his
gun is
hand.
already out. His gun is
Okay.
already out.
Okay.
and she's crying at this point, and I'm thinking like, oh my God, what did I do? I'm trying to figure out what I did. And you don't have to pull your gun out, and I'm speeding, but that was the case. So he asked me to get out of the car. I'm complying. I'm getting out of the car. He slams me up against the car, tells me that I'm under arrest. And I'm like, for what? What did I do? Can you please tell me what I did? And he's like,
Yeah.
shut your mouth, blah, blah, blah. He's telling, my girlfriend to, close her mouth and all this stuff. So he puts his gun up, puts me in handcuffs, and puts me in the back of his police car. Now, the next thing I know, 2 more police cars that came up. I'm thinking like, oh my God, what is going on? So I'm back there, damn near crying, like, can you please tell me what I did wrong? And he was like, shut up, nigga, before I take you to jail. And I'm like, oh, that
Damn.
was it. Yeah, I need to shut up because this is not going well, and it's not going to go well. So as I'm listening to dispatch, they were chasing someone that had robbed a store that was driving a white Mustang. But as I'm listening, now I know where Legion Field is in Birmingham. I've been there. So they're in pursuit of the person in the white Mustang by Legion Field. Now I'm a good maybe 30 miles away from Birmingham.
Oh, wow.
But he had robbed the store in Gardendale. So they got me pulled over like this. And so I was like, sir, that's not me. And then once he realized it, he didn't apologize or anything. He wrote me a ticket for obstructing justice and took the handcuffs off and sent me on my way. Yeah.
He gave you a ticket for obstructing justice.
Yes.
On what grounds? What did you do exactly?
I paid the ticket. That's what I'm saying. What did I do? You pulled me over. I was minding my business. I paid the ticket. I told my mom, I told my dad, and they was like, it's the police. Just pay the ticket.
Yeah.
So, I could have a strong dislike for the police, but I don't. I know it's not everybody. And, they have a job to do. We need law and order for those who choose to uphold law and order in the proper way. But we all know you got bad apples and everything. I just wish that the quote, good cops, end quote, would police themselves better than what they do. So that's all. Yeah.
Agreed on that. The episode we aired on March 1st, it was an officer named Vance Keys. He talked about speaking up and how the impact, the result of it was that he got written up for something. And, it just points to that culture of and I know there are women in the force, but, I'm just going to say this is our brotherhood. And, we protect each other. That was kind of the what I took away from that particular story and just other stories. I mean, there has to be a reason, because we do know that there are good cops. We know that there are people who are really interested in protecting and serving.
Absolutely.
And one has to consider that there must be structures, habits, patterns in place that have kept the force from evolving more than it has in all of this time.
Right.
And it has evolved. So, I want to acknowledge that, but we just got a little bit more to go. We got a little more to go.
I just find it funny that, if, officers are out doing their job and they're investigating the case and they're in your neighborhood saying, well, if you don't talk to us and help us, we can't help you. Well, you guys do the same thing. You cover for your people like people in the neighborhood cover for their people. But you want us to tell a rat on our people, but you won't tell a rat on your people. So, when you start telling and ratting on your people, maybe you'll get some people in the neighborhood that's going to start to tell and rat on their people. I just say I had a conversation not long ago with someone that's retired law enforcement, and I was talking to him. And I was like, the thing that you guys don't understand as law enforcement people is we got a long history of PTSD of dealing with the police force. I say, but you guys don't want to pay that any attention. We suffer from post-traumatic stress syndrome. It's not just a military thing. It's a thing that our people suffer from because of past experiences or knowing people that have had experiences that haven't been good. And it seems like it's more bad experiences with the police than it is good experiences.
Yeah.
Just my
Yeah.
vantage point and opinion, by the way.
No, I appreciate what you're saying about that. As I see, I actually, have the privilege of teaching a law course most years. And at some point it inevitably comes up about, I don't know if I would snitch or, snitches get stitches. Someone brings it up and then there's a whole class conversation about it. But I appreciate this context that you just gave, because I hadn't considered, I guess if you are savvy and realize that, yeah, they ain't telling on one another, they're protecting their side. So why would I not protect my own? I personally had not seen that mirror between the two before. So thank you for pointing that out.
Mm-hmm.
If the United States was a woman with whom you could speak, whether she's a mother, lover, stranger, neighbor, friend, any of those, what would you say to her?
Well, first off, am I talking about a white woman? Am I talking about a black woman? You
get to call it. You call it. You tell us what
and
she is.
this woman, is she representing America?
She's representing the United States. She is the personification of the United States of America.
Wow. I'm going to say this. Okay, if she's a white woman, I'm going to say, could you please talk to your father, your brother, your uncles, your husband, and ask them why don't they allow us to be free in the term of what is meant to be, instead of just extending the chains to make us feel like we're free? And if she's a black woman, I want to say thank you for protecting me and loving me when everyone else in the world seems to hate me so much. That's my answers. And I give the chain situation because I'm an old country boy, and you chain these dogs around a post or a tree, and they can run around with 5 feet of chain, and that area to the grass is all worn down, and then you go out there and add another 5 feet. Well, hell, the dog got 5 new feet of territory that it never explored, and he's happy, but he don't realize he's still chained. And I say that about us as Black people in the United States. We get these things like the civil rights movement. It's only been 50 plus years ago. Hell, I'm 52, so it ain't really been that long ago. Right. That you gave us some type of freedoms that we were asking and begging for, but yet and still you still have other racist things put in place to hinder us from being really free.
Yeah.
And if you notice, I didn't even put the white woman in power because she still has to answer to the man that controls it all. We just had the situation in Georgia where they signed in this new voter suppression situation, and you had all white men standing around another white man sitting there signing this thing into law. So who's really making all of these decisions? So I'll just go ahead and make her a Black woman and say thank you for loving me.
I love both parts of that. First, because in all of the guests so far, I don't recall someone creating her as a Black woman. And when you did that, for me, it was like, it really shifted it. I mean, honestly, when I thought of the United States as a Black woman, then I was like, of course, yeah, it took some time, but of course we were going to be freed from the chains of slavery. And of course, this is going to evolve. And of course, complete freedom to be and to act is a matter of time, of course. And so that's how it just looks different when you say that. And then back to when you describe her as a white woman and checking, talk to these folks. You didn't say that, but
right. I was actually kind of putting her in the same boat as us, because even though we don't have a certain amount of power, she don't either.
Okay. Ooh, okay. All right. See, I really like this. because I didn't catch that fully the first time you said it, but now that you clarify it for me, then it's like, oh, I get it. Now the whole voter suppression in Georgia and all these other states that are so mad that Black folks and other people of color and women went out and didn't vote the way they wanted. Now they're doing all these changes. Well, all of a sudden I get it. It's like America as a white woman, she may in fact be down with all men are created equal. She may actually be down with not having the strife and the racism. And yet she still got to contend with that these people.
Mm-hmm.
There's some of these sons of mine and some of these daughters of mine too, who are just unwilling to get with the program.
You know what, Robin? Once we start to gain ground and get some type of equal footing, the rules start to change.
Don't they? Every
So
time.
how can you gain ground and get equal footing when those are in power just change the rules to benefit them? So you know, you have to see and understand what's going on. Young white girl asked me, she's like, what is it with white supremacy? How do you view that in the United States? Getting off subject a little bit, but
no, go
you
ahead.
know,
You good.
and I was like, what do you mean? How do I view it, or even deal with it? And she's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I was like, well, first off, my whole existence is white supremacy. My everyday life is white supremacy. How many Black people realize that and know that their everyday life, from getting up in the morning to going to sleep at night, is white supremacy? You're educated in a system that was set up by white supremacy. You're taught about the things about white people before you taught anything else. And that's any ethnic group in the United States. This education system teaches you about the people that oppressed you. And then everything that we deal with is based in white supremacy. Is there anything that white people don't have the control and power over? Matter of fact, is there anything that white people don't have the control and power over on the globe, not just the United States? One friend said, Chris, well, we need to get us a bank, have us a Black bank. Well, you go put that Black bank on the United States soil. So the government is going to have some type of control in that. You can say, well, we can do all this, that, and the other, making loans to our people and doing things to help better the situation. Really? Is that right? Okay, well, who gonna make the rules to control what you can and cannot do with the money that's in your bank?
Oh, man.
I was just talking to my son the other day about the fact of, do you know and realize that even though we had integration, we still segregated in the United States? And he's kind of woke a little bit, in the sense, as we say, he's heard me go on rants and tangents about things over the years. And you got like, we got South Central Los Angeles out here, we got Beverly Hills, we got Palos Verdes, we got Pacific Palisades. Hell, we still sending kids from the inner city to the Palisades and all that stuff to go to school. So you still got segregation. It's just reform.
It's like it's hidden from the view of people how much the rules change. And I'll speak from my own lifetime. Going back to what you said about how the rules change and how, who's in charge. I will never forget my moment of being deflowered. My moment of being deflowered was in 2000, and it was the Gore v. Bush. And there was all the Chads, and those of you who are old enough, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know, you can look it up. Anyway, it came down to this recounting, and then the Supreme Court took up a case. And, my regulars know, I feel like I understand a little bit. Yeah, I took constitutional law. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I was like, this, they can't interfere and change the outcome because I believe in the system.
Right.
And then they did. And I was like, seriously? Oh, dang, you don't get your way. It's like that. So then fast forward 2016, it's time for Obama to nominate a Supreme Court justice, and he nominates Garland. And I'm like, did they really? Wait a second. Hold up. In the history of this country, you have never denied a president the opportunity. In the history of this nation, you have not denied a president the right to just appoint and have a hearing. And you just did that. And I was like, the deflowering is complete.
So those that write the rules can change the rules.
Right. Which brings us back to what you brought up about Georgia. It's like all the rules changed about who could vote, who can vote. And we, thank goodness. I mean, no, I don't want to say that. But, in light of that, we had this pandemic and there was a need to change things. We had all these things that got put in place to make it easier for people to vote. Ooh, that scared them something silly.
Big time.
And they were like, you know what? We can change that real quick.
All we got to do is put the pen to paper and change it.
Yeah. What is love to you?
I think I got a 3-parter.
Go ahead.
This basically one. When you hear what I'm going to say, what is love? First and foremost, I think is communication. And communication, freedom, and empathy. So, yeah, communications, being able to express one's feelings, freedom, the power to speak, act, and think as one wants to without hindrance or resistance, and empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others and be compassionate when it comes down to that. So that's love to me. And I get to experience that love from my wife, my son, my parents, my siblings, because they allow me to be me. No one has ever said to me, Chris, stop this crazy dream, that you have of being an actor in Hollywood. You just old small town country boy. Everyone has always been supportive as far as my whole family goes. They know that I think a little bit outside the box. They roll with it. And for me, that's love, just allowing me to be me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I allow people to be who they want to be.
You speak in my language there, because what you're really talking about is just complete acceptance.
But you have to get there through communication. You have to talk. People know you can't just leave it to one's thoughts and imaginations. You have to express what it is that you like and dislike so that people know. Don't leave it for them to guess about it.
That's a good point. Awesome.
Yeah.
What is something that you've learned through your profession, your training, your experiences, or your adventures that you believe more Black men should know, but don't, knowing that whatever you say benefits all of us?
Be patient. Be diligent. It may not come when you feel like you want it. It may not come a quick amount of time or whatever, but it's always going to be right on time. And being that I dreamed for so long and seen small successes and parts of my dream come true, I've had to learn to be patient. Don't give up, stay diligent and whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, because no one said it was going to be easy and no one said it was going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in both of those, what I hear is be steadfast.
Yes, absolutely. And believe in yourself more so. Believe in yourself.
Awesome. So, Chris, now that we've had this conversation,
Yes.
What did you get for yourself personally out of participating in this conversation?
I got to express myself. For other people that are going to participate in this and those who will be listening to your episodes, I got to express myself. Normally I'm just talking to family and friends, and I'm excited about the fact that some people are going to get to hear someone that I'm big on family. I'm a spiritual person, not a religious person. And to be able to allow me this freedom and this platform, I appreciate it and I thank you. It's going to help me out for future interviews. You
Excellent.
know, it's definitely going to do that. And you made me think. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So everything you said is like, it's the stuff that puts a big old smile on my face, because, one of my prayers around this one is, that brothers get something valuable for themselves, that the listeners get something valuable for themselves, but also that those of you who are, that it is just the beginning of you guys sharing your voice in an even broader platform, whatever that looks like, because everyone who, yes, is just so, well, there's no person who's not interesting if you take the time to listen. I get that.
Right.
Right. But also, one of my prayers is that so many of the brothers who are here are then go on and are on other podcasts and other shows, and that their voice is just magnified. So thank you for that. And I'm always left with a particular impression of each brother at the end. And I got to say, the one for you is fully self-expressed and living life fully. Like, so much of what you shared in terms of the experiences that have mattered to you, like even, like putting it all out on the football field, like really play, like go ahead and play, and recognizing the accomplishments along the journey. And then even your choice in how you work, like you're not living a life where you're waiting for something to happen. You're making your life happen and appreciating it as it's happening. It's so clear in everything you say. So you are fully self-expressed and living life fully. And I love that. And I hope listeners are inspired by that.
I too. I hope so too.
Remember, you can follow us on Instagram at 365 Brothers. Also, follow us on Facebook at 365 Brothers, the podcast. Lastly, I just want to let you know, producing a podcast, it takes something, and I'm really grateful to have partnered with alidu.com. They make publishing easy. There's a link in the show notes for anyone who either has a podcast or is thinking about a podcast. You don't need to learn all that sound balancing and compression. Save all that. Use your time for what matters, interviewing and sharing the stories that your podcast brings. Thank you for listening to 365 Brothers. I certainly hope you enjoyed the episode. I encourage you to subscribe. Please leave a review. I want to know what you think. Also, if you know someone who would be a fantastic guest for 365 Brothers, please direct them to our website, 365brothers.com. You'll also find all the episodes there, 365brothers.com. And your support is welcome. And remember, to listen is to love.
I was reading this African proverb at the beginning of the week, and it says, when you pick up one end of the stick, you pick up the whole stick. So that means you pick up the good with the bad, the whole entirety of the stick. You can't have one without the other. You can't have a positive without the negative, or good without evil. They all go hand in hand.
Yeah.